All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Word with Brownlow. Remember, no one is worthless. No story is worthless. And today, ladies and gentlemen, I have a very special guest for you. Let me give you a couple of words about my guest. Searching, information, revealing, truth. All the way from Calabasas, give it up for Mr. Andy K of K&A Investigations.
How you doing today?
How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Where are you at right now?
I am in Chicago as we speak right now, the Windy City, where it is it's on its way to be 20 degrees outside. So, yeah.
I wasn't sure if you were gone for the holidays or what, but yeah, it's way too cold to be in Chicago right now. I've got cases in Chicago that I'm avoiding having to be there until it gets, a little bit warmer, but I think that's going to be a long way off. So
yeah, you know what?
I'm going to have to tough up.
Yeah, well, you know what, man, if you're going to wait, try June, but until
that's right.
But no, man, I want to talk to you because you are an elite private investigator, or on the street, or in layman's terms, a private eye. And we're going to talk about a lot of things, when it comes to being a private investigator. So let's just talk a little bit more about you and what it is that you do. Basically, man, from A-list celebrities to cheating scandals to fraud to child custody to some of everything, you handle it all. So let me just ask, in this day and age of technology, you can do everything online. Why or when should we hire a private investigator?
Whenever you want accuracy, I guess is the best way to put it. Most of the information that's compiled online is not really very accurate. You can't really trust it very well. That's why we don't use it. If all of that stuff worked, people wouldn't call me for background checks. They wouldn't call me to locate people. They wouldn't call me for any of those kind of searches. If you don't know how to use the information that you get, even from, that's out there right now, you can end up chasing down a rabbit hole that's not even going the direction you want to go. So much of that information, you have so many people that share the same names in the same city and the same, close birth dates, and they don't do anything to go through and cross-reference that information to make sure it's accurate or the person you're looking for. You're just going to type in somebody's name and you're going to get a bunch of information. Part of it will be what's supposed to be there. Part of it will be accurate to you, but the rest of it may not be. So that's why people contact us to do those kind of investigations.
Okay, all right. So now you have over 28 years of experience.
Yeah.
You've been in the game for a while, so you've pretty much seen it all.
That's just it since I started my own company. That's not work before that or anything else. So yeah, I've been in this game a long time.
Wow, man. Hey, look, hats off to you because, because, it has to be at times a very stressful job. So, like I said, hats off to you, but man, hats off to you for real, seriously. But I want to talk about something that you've been talking about lately. This is the holiday season, people are shopping. Due to, Corona, what have you, a lot of people are staying home, shopping online. I recently read an article that you were discussing about online purchases and online fraud. Can you talk a little bit more about that, please?
Sure. I mean, obviously, everybody is looking, well, I don't mean everybody, criminals are all looking for ways to take your money and make it theirs. And so anytime you have people in a hurry, trying to get things done for the season, they're unaware, they can't pay attention as close as most other times, that's when they have an advantage over you. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you're using trusted sites, that you're not taking and clicking a link that was sent to you that may look exactly like it came from one of the companies you do work with, like Macy's or Penny's or Amazon or anything like that. Go back to your account, log in the way you normally do without being contacted from them, and go in that way if you want to shop. Don't ever click a link from a site when it's not. Go to the company yourself. Go to their website, go back into it that way. Log in through your normal login procedure Don't just click in on an email you get, because it may be a phishing scam looking for your information, getting into your computer to steal, credit card information, things like that. There's other things. When you order, obviously you want to have a secure place to get your orders when they're delivered. You want to make somebody who's around. I mean, there's people that make a living out of following around Amazon and UPS trucks and FedEx trucks. They'll just go around, you see it all the time. The internet is full of videos of security cameras watching somebody steal their stuff. Just because they watched them steal it doesn't mean that guy got caught. So you got to be aware. You got to take care of things. Those are some primary things. I mean, we could really go on all day about internet fraud and marketing fraud and things like that. So if you want to get some specific questions in, I'm more than happy to address each one. Otherwise, I'll be rambling on through your whole show.
Well, okay. Well, no, that's quite all right. But no, I want to talk about tips for business credit card holders. Like, I know you spoke specifically about that. Like, what are some tips for like small business, people who have small business who are using the internet to buy goods or, things of that nature? What are some tips for them to avoid them from getting scammed or phished?
Well, a lot of times what happens is, you'll send an employee out, employees will have cards and things. They'll run, maybe get gas or something, and a card reader will be there, steal their card information. Next thing they know, they're not paying attention, because a lot of these thieves will set up companies of their own, fake companies, and get merchant accounts for these companies through some of the easy providers like Square and other companies like that. So they'll be able to accept credit cards. And they may set up their company so it says Google ... advertising experts something blah. So everybody uses Google as a business for some advertising usually. So you might not notice if you're paying a lot of your AdWords bills or things like that you have all these extra charges from Google that can add up. I've seen them use courier services, and all these different names that if you don't carry it out to the end, which most of your statements don't show you, they just show you the beginning. So you just see Google, Yelp, FedEx, whatever, but it could be taken out to a level where it's a totally different company. And they're using your card for their own thing. And the guys that actually do the swiping aren't always the guys, and quite frequently are not the guys who are using your information and making purchases. They're selling, once they get your card information, they're selling it on the dark web, and people could be using it all over the world. Now, if they're smart, they don't do that, because then they have longevity with your card.
Right. Okay, well, hey, there you go. Just offer tips. Please use those.
Watch your statements. Look at them very closely. Pay attention, because that's what happens. And if it gets out after a few months, your bank may not reimburse you for those fraudulent charges, because they've gone on longer than they will be able to go back on.
Watch those statements. Key point. Thank you for that. I want to talk to you about something that I think people really get misinformed about. Due to the media, due to movies, due to what have you. But you are a private investigator. So if you ask a normal person on the street, hey, what is in your mind, what is a private investigator? Oh, I'm thinking Humphrey Bogart in Casablanca, or, I'm thinking, this guy in this movie, or I'm thinking this person and this person, it's this, life and this, that, or whatever. No. I want to hear it from the man himself. Like, what is one thing about being a private investigator that most people, 99.9% of people just are misinformed about?
Well, private investigators are actually a very diverse group. You have obviously a lot of the retired cops that, they trying to supplement their income, so they start being a private investigator afterwards. They may know some defense lawyers, so they do some criminal defense work, things like that. But it's usually a one-man show, and that's what he does. He goes out and interviews witnesses. He does things like that, which we do. And I've done a lot of it. We do a lot of criminal defense work and post-conviction work. So we end up working, that's where you work in the criminality. But in my company, and I've been very, very successful. I've been doing it a very, very long time. My span already is probably 5 times longer than most private investigators ever even last in business. So it's not a business that if you don't have a lot of fortitude and a lot of diversity in your knowledge bases, you're not going to get this far. It's just not going to happen. And the other thing, at some point, if you want to keep expanding on it, like I have, you have to trust and be able to delegate to very, very good people that specialize in a lot of different things. I still oversee 90% of the cases that go out, especially if they have any real direct investigation. So the guys that I choose over this much time are very, very good at what they do. Like if we have an arson investigation, the guy that handles that is ex-ATF. That's what he specialized in. That's all he did for them for years. He is retired from the ATF, and this is the only place he works. He will work those kind of cases that he specializes in. Our digital forensics department, the guys and all the equipment is the same equipment that the FBI and everybody else uses so that we can get information off computers and phones. And so you have to have those guys that specialize in those things. Now, they may not all have the ability to be businessmen also, but they're great investigators. And so I step in, I have other business interests. And so compiling it all together and keeping it under one umbrella is where I've been very successful. And that's where I've been very lucky also. I'm not going to take the credit just because I did it. It's just, there's a lot of pieces and parts that come together and a lot of opportunities to go into different things. And we get called to work all over the world. You talk about Casablanca. Elizabeth and I, who you met earlier, we both were in Casablanca and Morocco and in Marrakesh on a case. And I remember getting into Casablanca thinking, hey, this is just like Humphrey Bogart now.
Right.
Yeah. So and, we got cases in Hawaii, and it's like you got to take pictures, with the little statue of Magnum, and actually he's our neighbor at a piece of property we've had in development up in Thousand Oaks for a long time. So it's different for every PI. Every PI business, I've got so many friends all over the world that are in the business. Every single one of them is different. And, that's the other thing. I hire a lot of them hire me. If I know that they're going to be in a locale where they're right there ready to go and I trust their expertise in whatever type of case it is, that's who I'm going to go to, and vice versa. So, we've worked in, I think, 48 cases now in the last 2.5 years. I thought it was 38, but it turned out it was 48. I worked on every continent except for Antarctica. So pretty diverse.
Okay. So, you just said a lot of interesting things, but the last thing you just said was most interesting. And I think that's the one thing a lot of people don't understand. It's just not about sitting outside the car and, hey,
yeah,
I'm peeping, I'm looking, but
part of it.
But pretty much as you said, you've been on every continent, man. You've been pretty much everywhere except Antarctica. Cases, what have you, investigations, but being diverse, I think, is very key and a very key thing you hit on, and that's what keeps you in the game, man. So
absolutely,
that's what's up. Okay, I appreciate it. So, let's just talk a little bit about, your company and what it is that you do. Tell us a little bit more about K&A Associates.
Well, like I said, we do just about every type of work that investigations will bring. I also come from a construction background. I grew up in construction. All my uncles were different types of contractors and land developers and things. So I evolved into that business. I'm a licensed engineering contractor, building contractor, grading and paving. The companies do work now in 3 states. I'm not physically active in any of those companies right now, but I do know what's going on all the time. Every once in a while, I like to go play on the big equipment, like a big toy box, and so, some of my superintendents get mad if I happen to be in town and grab a couple pieces of equipment. A couple of the guys go, "Oh, let's go over here." Do this.
No.
Like a big kid, but it also keeps me very good because construction-related investigations, because there's nobody that has all those licenses and a PI license that I know of anywhere yet. So I am kind of called out special when there's construction failures or major construction site accidents, or, industry violations that, maybe some municipality has, or things like that, standard practices. I'm very adept at all those things. A lot of material failures, people buy non-specification materials and try to get by with it to save money, things like that. So we do a lot of different things like that. And I've been in a lot of the times when I'm doing investigations out of the country, it's for that specifically, because I have more experience and training in all those areas than whoever the opposition attorneys are going to bring forward. So I get called out for, if anybody knows me in those fields, they're going to call me.
So he's a master at his craft. That's why he gets called. That's why you're out of the country. Hey man, look, come on. But as I said before, that's another layer of being a private investigator that the average person wouldn't take, into consideration.
It's all of my guys. They all, all of them have some hobby that they're very good at. Whether, obviously a lot of the older cops and stuff that come out that work for me now, a lot of them are, tactics trainers, police use of force, specialists, things like that. And they've been deemed expert witnesses in those kind of cases. So they all bring something else from their personal life to these things too that they're an expert in. And so that's another way that when we have different types of investigations, we get, well, Frank is very good at that. He is the most knowledgeable person I know at that. So he will be my lead in that investigation. And, we also, being in LA for so long, we have a very good reputation with a lot of high profile clients. We do, everybody from NBA players to, high profile stars and celebrities, A-list stars. And, we're well trusted with them. They'll tell other people. And we also are very good at keeping them, separate from the public so that people can't easily find their homes. I try to be proactive ahead of time so that we don't have issues that come down the road where we have to go find a stalker when they're stalking and, help with law enforcement, get rid of somebody. So we do a lot of work ahead of time to protect people's assets, keep them away from paparazzi, potential baby mamas, all those things that come with that form of publicity. So that's where I've gotten very popular, and I think that's why I end up here.
Okay, hey, look, but as I said before, you're obviously good at what you do, and as you said, if you can keep, things, separate, pretty much the business part, away from, the media part or what have you, and just have a, A-list client go on about their business without worrying about stuff on the other end.
That's it.
Yeah,
yeah. We don't have to hear any phone calls from a lot of our clients. I feel really, really good about it.
There you go. And at the end of the day, I think that's what makes you the best at what it is that you do. Seriously. So,
Definitely helps.
Yes. All right. Let me ask you a little bit about 2020. Everybody has something to say about 2020. 2020 has been this, 2020 has been that. It's usually on the negative side. So I'm going to go the other way. All right. So what is one thing about 2020 that's been a positive for you?
It's been a great year for me. We've had, really good successes in a lot of our cases. I'm very partial to my custody cases, my child custody cases. And we've had a lot of good successes in that area this year. We've had a lot of really great clients this year, and it's been a good year for me. Other than the, election craziness and the COVID craziness and all those things that tend to bring people down, we've been able to stay really positive. And most people around us are very positive. So I personally, as far as it's affected me, have been able to stay kind of above it all. But it's been crazy for the world as a whole. And, I have opinions of how things could have been better on all fronts, but it is what it is.
All right. Well, hey, you know what? We all have, our own take on what could have been better, for this year, what have you, but
different show.
But it is right. That's a totally different show, but a totally different time. All right. That's what's up. Can I just ask you real quick, what is it about, child custody cases, that are a little bit near and dear?
Yeah, it's, I'm a dad. So when people have a situation, usually, there's always two sides of the story, and I try to get balance in it. And I try to, even with my clients, I don't have to be like an attorney where I have to go in and fight with 100 and bigger. If I don't like my client, I can quit. So if I stick with the client, it's because I believe in them. And when you have a little kid involved in it, or several little kids involved in it, sometimes you want a good outcome. And sometimes you have to reel your client in a little bit, which I try to do if I really think, hey, go with this, and what you're thinking, we're not finding. And I don't really believe that's what's happening out there anymore. So once I get involved with those and they come to a positive result and everybody's happy in the end, or at least my client's happy in the end, and I believe that's what should have happened, then it's a good feeling.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So if people wanted to find you, if people wanted to, get your services or what have you, how can people contact you?
Obviously our website is kayandassociates.com, KAYAND spelled out, and so K&A Associates spelled out. On Instagram, we're K&A Investigates. On Facebook, we're K&A Investigations. On Twitter, we're Associates K. And LinkedIn, we're Andy JK.
Oh, okay. All right. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, the man is good. Reach out to him. For those of you who need, his services, please reach out. There he is. All right. So, Mr. Andy K, this has brought us to the very last question, the question that my show is known for. I thoroughly enjoy speaking with you, seriously, learning more about, what it is that you do. But I have to ask, what is the one word that best describes you and why?
I have to pick one of two, huh? Okay. I was going to say happy, but that's obvious. But persistent. I'm persistent. once I get a hold of something or I want to get after it, I'll stay after it no matter what the ramifications till I get to the answers I'm looking for. In my own life especially, but as long as a client's willing to go, I'll stick with it until we find what they're wanting to get, as long as it's there.
Okay. All right. There it is. Very simple, cut and dry. I love it. Straight to the point. Man, Andy. All right. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Word with Ty Brownlow. I am your host, Ty Brownlow. You can follow me on social media, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram at Word with Ty Brownlow. You can also follow me on Twitter, Ty Brownlow TV, or you can just go to my website, tybrownlow.com. Get this wonderful conversation plus other conversations. Mr. Andy K.
Thank you, Ty. I appreciate being here.
All right. We're out, ladies and gentlemen.